You're watching Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm Frank Moreno here in New York. John Tobacco is in Florida. And this is a real pleasure because over the last 10, 15 years or so, there has been an explosion of interest in this country in mixed martial arts, in MMA. And now it's legal just about everywhere, including here in New York, which was one of the last states to legalize it. And we are very, very fortunate to be joined by one of the giants of the mixed martial arts field. And I mean that both literally and figuratively. The one and only Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz. Mr. Ortiz, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you for having the show. I appreciate it.
So I remember back in the 80s, and I know John remembers as a boxing aficionado himself, boxing was all the rage. Then it seemed like in the mid to late 90s, professional wrestling enjoyed a resurgence. Yes. What's been behind the MMA craze over the last 10, 15 years?
Well, I just think it's having pretty much the gladiator attitude of having two men competing against each other in a cage, and they're the most combative athletes to compete and educate the fans that the UFC has done with the Ultimate Fighter back in 2006 when it first began. Up to now to date, other companies have came about. Of course, the company that I fight with now, Combate Americas, I'll be getting ready for this fight on December 7th against Alberto Del Rio. The fans have been educated and they understand what mixed martial arts is about, with the takedowns, submissions, kicks, punches. There's just so many different ways to win a match. And try to compare boxing to wrestling is like comparing checkers to chess. Yeah. And chess being boxing.
I want to ask you about this fight that's coming up on Saturday because it's the first of its kind and it really is enveloping fans of multiple different sports. But you are as big as they come in mixed martial arts. You're a UFC Hall of Famer, former lightweight, heavyweight champion. One of the big criticisms, and I hear this, and I don't want to sound sexist, but one of the big criticisms that I hear specifically from women about mixed martial arts is that it's too violent, is that this is barbaric, and that people should not be watching two people beat each other up like this for entertainment. I'm sure you've heard those criticisms. What do you say to that?
Well, I mean, those are probably about 10 years ago that I stopped hearing that stuff, just because people got educated on the sport in general. They got educated on seeing what the submissions were, what the takedowns were, striking. And you got to understand, when guys are striking, it's not like in boxing where they're punching, just with gloves to the head. This is using kicks, punches, knees, and you're attacking the body, legs, the submissions, and in a point where you're able to tap out. Or if you're not intelligent defending yourself, there's no standing 8 count in mixed martial arts, and that's why our sport is so much safer than boxing.
John Tobacco, I know you've been in a boxing ring once in a while. Something tells me you're not really one for stepping into a mixed martial arts ring with somebody like Tito Ortiz.
No. I'm sad I'm not there because if I was, I wanted to show Tito some of my grapple moves. But thank God I'm not there because he probably would have choked me right out. But Tito, I agree with what you're saying. All these people that are talking about, how violent it is, boxers stand in there and smash each other in the head for 12 rounds. The UFC fights are much shorter. They're still using somewhat padded gloves. And, at some point, a submission puts a guy out of his misery. Some of these guys, they're knocked out on their feet, but they're programmed, these boxers are programmed to stay upright, to get back up, to not look like they're whacked out. But meantime, there's probably a lot more long-term negative health effects on boxers than there are people in the UFC.
100%. I mean, you get a lot of the concussions or blows to the head that you have from boxing. Now, mixed martial arts, like I say, if you get hit and you get dropped, you can't intelligently defend yourself. The referee steps in and he wants to look out for the protection or the future of the fighter, so they stop the fight. And that's something that helps fighters to have a longevity. I mean, I've been fighting for 22 years, and I've been very lucky. I've been the person that's always been on top, been in the dominant position, and I'm not going to change this on December 7th live on PPV.
Okay, well, so let's talk about December 7th. That's this Saturday. Combate Americas.
Correct.
What is this?
So this is a Latino-based company, and it started out being a Latino-based company, just pretty much for Central America. And then all of a sudden, they kind of spread their wings and getting here into America. And on Univision, they have over 500,000 viewerships on each event that they have. This is the first pay-per-view event that they'll have against myself, and Alberto Del Rio will be on pay-per-view. And he's actually the former WWE heavyweight champion.
So this is why it's pretty unique. You're the former UFC champion.
Light heavyweight champion.
That's mixed martial arts. He's a former professional wrestling champion.
Correct.
So we're combining stars of two different disciplines head-to-head like
yes,
this.
But actually Alberto Del Rio has a mixed martial arts record of 9-5. So he's fought actually in
So this isn't like that mixed martial arts boxing matchup. I think it was Pacquiao, right? Or no, Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather and McGregor. No,
Yeah.
it's not
this
like
is
that.
both people on somewhat of a level playing field.
Exactly.
All right, and now,
well, not to a evenly level field. I mean, there's a little difference here. So, I mean, I think I'm a little more advanced than he is, but still, I'm going to put on a show for my fans.
all right, let's have a look at what people are in store for this Saturday if they order the fight on pay-per-view. Take a look at this.
You are not good enough. You are not strong enough. No way you last 3 rounds. You are not a real fighter. You don't stand a chance. It's all just noise.
Tito versus Alberto, available on pay-per-view.
So I'll tell you, after being a professional wrestling fan, a big part of my life, I was all set to back Mr. Del Rio. But after seeing you and your grip in person, I'm not going to tell you that to your face.
I put in the
to
work,
switch
man.
sides.
It's been 19 weeks of hell, and I'm ready to put on a show on Saturday night.
I can imagine. Now this is. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Tito. I'm sorry I'm not there to meet with you, but I want to wish you the best of luck this weekend. I always try to be the best dressed guy on the set, but you're really giving me a run for my money. And from what I could see in between the scenes, can you go in on Saturday with those shoes you have on, those thorny, sparkling shoes?
Yeah, you like my red bottoms, huh? My red bottoms are really nice. People want to see.
Those things look like weapons.
Yeah, you know, people don't step on my feet anymore, so it helps out a lot.
So now,
Fantastic.
if you win on Saturday night, you actually get to take possession of his championship belt?
Yes.
And what happens if he wins?
If he wins, which he's not, he gets an opportunity to take my belt. He's not going to win, though. He's not taking my belt.
No.
And you got to understand, I'm a huge WWE fan. I mean, I've been a fan since WWF, back in Hulk Hogan days. My kids are just over the top. They can name the whole roster in WWE. And I told them this deal that I'm going to actually get a chance to win the belt. They're like, Dad, are you serious? So they're going to be coming and walking out with me to the octagon, to the cage. And when I win the fight and I win the title, I'll put it on their shoulder. They're going to take it home. They're going to put it in their room, and they'll bring all their buddies over so they can see the heavyweight championship
two
belt.
final questions from me and whatever John has.
Yes.
This is a 210-pound catch-weight showdown.
Correct.
What does that mean?
So normally I fight at 205 pounds. That's my normal light heavyweight division. And he's cutting down from 240, and he said he couldn't make 205. So I said, all right, I'll give you a 5-pound allowance. And it actually helps me because now I don't cut from 225 to 205. I'm actually cutting from 225 to 210. So
My final question, tell me what your lapel pin says.
you can't read it?
I can read it. I'm asking you to
Awesome.
tell me what
MAGA,
it
come on.
reads.
Make America great
Make
again.
America great again.
Yes.
So you're a Trump guy.
I'm a Trump guy, 100%. I
And
back
so
him.
is your other...
And I'm Mexican, and I'm from California. So, you know, we
I
have
thought
people
Trump
believe
hated
it.
Mexicans.
No, they
Wow.
don't.
No.
You know what he hates? He hates criminals. He hates people who are break laws, and that's what's the truth. And people need to get that straight
Wow.
because that's the truth.
Is Mr. Del Rio backing Bernie Sanders for president? Do we know his political affiliation?
Well, actually, he actually was on a show choking a guy who dressed up as our president, and so I took offense to that, and so I'm going to actually put an extra elbow on Alberto Del Rio.
So the Trump folks should be with you.
100%.
Others
for sure.
should be on the other side.
Yes. If you're on the wrong side, that's the other side. If you're on the right side, you're on the Trump side, and that's the important thing. We want to keep our country safe, and that's
Fair
what all that
enough.
matters.
John, it's been. I'm sorry you're not here for this. It's been a lot of fun.
I wish I was there. Hey, Tito, one last question.
Yes, sir.
I love the fact that you're a triple threat, meaning you're with Trump, you're from California, and you're Mexican. That's like the left-wing media wants us to think that there are no people that exist that like Trump that have your profile. But how big was it for UFC a few weeks back to have the president actually walk into Madison Square Garden for the fight there? How big was that?
I thought it was huge. I thought it was a big opportunity for UFC to have our president in the house at that time. But, you know, in general, I think it just shows the support that he's a fighter, too, and he's a fighter for our country. And he is not a politician. He actually is an American that cares about our country. And finally, we have someone who is keeping his name, keeping his promise made, promise kept, and that's why I back our president.
Best
and
of
he's
luck
doing a
to
great
you,
job.
Tito.
Thank you, sir.
Best of luck. We'll be watching Saturday night, December 7th on pay-per-view. This should be something. The owners, they break down the news of the day. You're watching Liquid Lunch.